welcome to the Ring the Damn Bell. Tonight is Monday. And I know we're not normally on Mondays, but last night we had a pay-per-view, AEW Revolution. It's also a first for us. Not only are we live streaming on YouTube, but we are also live streaming right now on Facebook. This isn't something I'm going to do on a regular basis. I figure, let's just treat people who haven't seen our podcast before so they can check us out. Don't forget, at 7:30 tonight, Mr. Herb Simmons is going to be on the podcast, and this guy has worked with everybody. We're talking about the Ric Flair, the Von Erichs, the Ortons. I mean, this guy is the who in professional wrestling. He's been a promoter for 50 years now, and he's also the mayor of the city that he lives in. Great guy. This will be live at 7:30 on both YouTube and Facebook. So don't forget about that. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Mark and I work very hard to do this podcast, to do the recap. I work really hard to get guests in, and I have some great guests that's going to be coming in the next few weeks. There's some that I'm working on right now, people that it would be a dream for me to be able to interview. Let me introduce my co-host, the wrestling enthusiast, one of my best friends in the entire world, a guy I know I can count on, Mark.
What's up?
Nothing, man. Just, excited to talk about this because look, of course, the IWC, and for those of you guys who don't know who that is, who they are, it is the Internet Wrestling Community. Yes, they have their own name. Uh, right away they're shitting all over AEW's pay-per-view, and that convinced me that these people come on just to find something wrong because this pay-per-view was absolutely dynamite. Oh, look who has joined us. The cooker, the guy who is on our podcast on Tuesdays to do the recap of Monday Night Raw, Bob Cook. He's in the comments. Thank you for joining us, Bob. Mark, what did you think about this pay-per-view?
I wasn't let down. I mean, yeah, there were some matches that I expected to be kind of drawn out or not as well as I would have wanted them to be. But for all the main matches, Page, MJF, Osprey, Fletcher, Swerve, um, even Mox, all the main matches I think were phenomenal. To be honest.
Yeah, the only thing I really question with this pay-per-view is some of the order of the matches because to put, and we'll get to it, but to put Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher right before the main event, I mean, look, this match, this cage match was just wow. They did some stuff that was absolutely nuts. Uh, and again, we'll talk about it, but you're setting up your main event to have to reach that level to make their match better. And did that happen? Not in my opinion, but the main event was not a bad match, though. It was a good match, and we'll talk about this. But Mark, yeah, let's go ahead and start the recap, my man.
All right, so we start with Adam Page versus MJF. Page gets the win, but there's some high spots in this. The pile driver on a chair, uh, the angel wing that for the pin that was kind of rough. Um, but overall, it was a damn good match. I'm not going to sit there and say different. You know, these guys went at.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
So I was on mute the whole time.
No, no, no. Just the last 2 seconds.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
So
So let's talk about this match, man. Man, this match was full of drama. There, the highs, the lows. It was an emotional roller coaster. And you talked about the Two Winged Angel, I think it's called. And when when Paige did this to MJF, I was like, holy shit, MJF's face is broke. That was a rough landing, or maybe it was supposed to look like this. I don't know, but I was expecting MJF's face to be all crooked when he rolled him over because this was a rough landing. But hey, the crowd popped. The power driver on the chair, and the fact that that chair didn't bend, that was a hard landing as well, and it was incredible. This match it started off hot, and part of me was like, "Ooh, is it starting off too hot?" Man, absolutely not, because the matches after it, good God, they were great.
Yeah, they were, but I think there was a lot of parts during this pay per view that these guys took some unnecessary risks. I mean, they really did.
I agree, but this is the thing. It's AEW. And I'm not saying that this is smart wrestling. I don't know. I'm not a professional wrestler. That's a question for Bob when he's on the show. I don't know if it's smart wrestling or not. Is it unnecessary chances? As a fan, I think it is. But as a fan, I appreciated them. I mean, you have to be honest about it. But is this something that some of these guys should be doing in the ring? Again, I'm not a wrestler. I am not in the ring doing them. Maybe they just look more dangerous than what it is to our eyes, right? Again, that's a conversation for Bob on Tuesday night. But there were some rough landings, man, and we'll get to them.
So wasn't there? It's funny because WWE is banning the pile driver, has been banned for years. All right, but I swear I saw at least three pile drivers last night. And
Yeah,
to me, a DDT is just as bad as a pile driver. But what do I know? All right, so next we go to Monet versus Mumu. Uh, you know, I'm not a big fan of Monet. A good worker, but a disconnect. I guess is the best you can put at it. Monet retained her belt through submission. Again, there wasn't much fanfare for Momo because you know I bet you 40% of the people that watch AEW had no idea who she was.
yeah. I think that the hardcore fans knew who she was. People who followed New Japan, because there was history between both of them in at New Japan. Monet beat them. Look, the match was fine. I'm not going to shit on the match. The match was fine, absolutely fine. But it was the worst match of the night if you're comparing it to the rest of the matches. And when I say that, guys, I'm not saying this because it was when I say it was the worst match of the night, I'm not saying it because it was a bad match. The matches that follow was just, the bar was just so high that they couldn't reach that bar. But it was a fine match. Monet looked fine. Mumu looked fine. She had some pretty good spots. Her kicks are pretty damn good. But the thing about this is we knew Mumu wasn't going to win. I don't know who's going to take the belt off of Monet. I know who I want it to be. I want it to be my girl, Megan. Is that going to happen? I don't know. But, again, good match. I'm not going to shit on it.
Yep, yep. All right, so next we go to Swerve and Ricochet. And the interesting part about this was Swerve was bragging about two African American wrestlers going for the number one spot. First time it's ever happened. All right. I didn't look at it that way because personally, I don't care. I see two men going for a number one spot. But, I'm not a African American man. So, maybe it's not as impactful for me because I'm not of that African American descent. Good match, though. At one point in time, Nana left. I thought this was the part where he was going to swerve. I was swerved because it didn't happen. I would have bet money on it too. I would have bet money on it, but he didn't swerve him. So what was it? Swerve two all skull kicks and a pressure slam for the pin.
This match, man, there was a spot where they're on the edge of the ring, and Ricochet did, I can't remember what the move was, but when Swerve's head hit the edge of that ring, his neck was all controlled. And I was like, I told my wife he's dead. This man is dead. And he got up. My wife said he's not dead. I went, I'm telling you, Swerve is dead after seeing that. Uh, we also see so many spots in this match. You're right. When Prince Nana walked away, flipping off who we presumed was Swerve, I love Prince Nana. My heart broke. I went, no, we're not going to see Prince Nana come out dancing to Swerve's music. That just makes me smile every time, man. I was heartbroken. No. And then, of course, he came back. And there was a couple of times that I thought he was going to turn on him because Swerve was pushed into him. I'm like, oh, this is going to do it. It never happened. Now, I'll be honest with you. Part of me was now expecting because of you planted the seed in my head. What if the Swerve that turns? And when Swerve got on his knees after the win and presented Chris Nana the coat, I'm like, Bird's going to jump up and kick this man's head off. I was expecting it. And I was so glad that it didn't happen. I tell you, after this match was finished, and I know it was so early in the pay per view, I said to myself, there's no other match that compared to this. This is it. This is going to be the best match of the night. That bar has now been raised above the MJF and Hangman Adam Page match. This is it. I don't think anybody can match this. Boy, was I wrong. And we'll talk about this as you get to it.
Right, right. Um, it's funny because both their stock levels rose last night. I felt, I did. And Ricochet, you know, he's a hell of a worker. I like him as a heel. Hopefully, he can get beyond the glass ceiling that he's got in front of him or whatnot, because I think the guy's, you know, earned it. You know, it's not that he deserves it; he's earned it. And I really despise that "you deserve it" statement all the time. I hate that. You know, no, they didn't deserve it; they earned it. There's a difference. Okay.
Hold on, Mark, 1 second. So let me say something about Ricochet. Ricochet, in my opinion, showed us last night why he should absolutely have gold on his waist at some point because he was good. He was good when he was on the offense, and he was good when he was getting his ass kicked because he sold. He sold like nobody's business last night. And my respect for Ricochet went up even more. I prefer him as a heel, but this is what Ricochet showed me last night. There are some guys in the industry who may not be the greatest on the mic, but because of just how damn good they are in the ring, yeah, you can put gold on them. Absolutely. My opinion.
He's one of them guys that no matter what position he's in, he can make whoever he wrestles look good. Your AJ Styles, your Kenny Omegas, these are the guys that no matter who they're facing can make them look good. And Ricochet is one of them. You know, I don't know what it is that you know any company, whether it's WWE or AEW, um, holds him back. I don't know. You know, but I definitely think he's worth carrying a title. I don't know what title, but carrying a title. I think the guy personally could probably stand to gain 15 pounds, but again, that affects your ring performance too when you gain that kind of weight. So
Yeah, let me say this. look, maybe there's an issue with Ricochet backstage. Maybe he's more arrogant, and maybe we don't know about that type of stuff. Obviously, because we're not in that part of the business. That's the only thing I can figure why he's not carried that he hasn't carried, the big titles in in WWE. We'll see what's going to happen in AEW. Because other than that, man, again, if you're just judging him based upon his performance in the ring, like you said, we've seen him wrestle guys that were local talent, and he made them look better than what they should have looked in the ring. I mean, he's solid.
Yeah, it's one of those. Well, you've got all the potential, but and we don't know what the but is. So, all right. So next we go to the Continental Championship match, which for the longest time I couldn't differentiate between the Continental and the national title. I couldn't keep them apart.
So, real quick, I have been told, uh, when I use the word source, I use that loosely, right? I have been told that there's talk about AEW combining the IC title and the Intercontinental title, or whatever they call it. There's two titles that are basically the same, and there's talk that of combining it, and I really think that they absolutely should.
Yep, by all means they should. It's just too confusing. But anyways, it's the Continental Championship on this next match. Okada versus Brody King. Now I had high expectations for this match, and I was kind of let down on this match. You know, I, I'm sorry, I just was. I thought I could have gone longer, and I just had a different set of expectations than you. I was King would really just tear him up, but it didn't happen. Raymond got the pin.
Mark, 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 you're this close from me firing you. I'm going to rehire you. Don't get me wrong. I will rehire you, but I'm this close to firing your ass because, man, I thought this match was so good. There were times that I just thought, when the Rainmaker hit him in the head with the belt, I was like, I was actually texting back and forth with a very good friend of mine who is also in the business. His dad was a wrestler. They were texting back and forth, and we both wanted Brody to win. And when he hit him in the head, when the Rainmaker hit him in the head, I was like, I swear to God, if this is how this match ends, I'm turning off the TV. There's going to be no recap tomorrow because I'm not watching it. I was done. And he kicked out of it. It was that type of excitement. Was I happy that once again King lost? Absolutely not. Because it's something that you said earlier. And I'm going to use a word that you hate, but bear with me. Not only does he deserve it, because he does, he worked hard to deserve it. So he earned it. He earned the right. So he both deserves it, he worked hard for it, and he earned it. He should have earned the right to have that belt because this man has sold for guys that he should have never sold for and did so happily because he loves this business. Nothing against people like Orange Cassidy. Nothing against people like the little shit that's climbing Mount uh, um
Darby Allen.
Darby Allen. Nothing against Darby Allen, right? Two phenomenal talents, Orange Cassidy and Darby Allen. But I'm sorry, they should have never ever beat Brody King. Brody King sold for these guys. He made them look like $1 million. He deserves a belt. So, yes, I was absolutely not happy that he lost, but it was a good match. Brody King can do things that a big man shouldn't do. The Rainmaker, he's just entertaining. I mean, he is. You have to give it to him. I like the guy. Uh, I hope they meet again, and I hope at some point we see Brody King with a title around his waist.
The Rainmaker is one of them guys that just at the cusp of defeat, he'll turn around and get the win. You just can't underestimate him because you blink an eye and you're pinned. You know. All right, so next.
Real quick, let me say this. This is the point of a title reign that I love, and I'll tell you why. When someone first gets their title, and the first time they defend it, you know that 98% they're going to retain that title unless they're a transitional champion. And it's like that as well for the first few matches. But when they get to this point of a title reign, you just don't know if they're going to drop it. So that's where the excitement of the match is at, because it's like, okay, will he drop it to this guy or is he going to keep it? So I really love where the Rainmaker is at right now with the title, because at any point he could drop it. That adds to that excitement and that drama to these matches.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just upset Brody didn't win. I don't know. So next we go to Tony Storm versus Ryan Ray. Now hold on. Now, was this advertised as Falls Count Anywhere and no DQs, or was it just stipulated last night? Because I don't remember it being that way. Oh,
It
okay.
was.
I must have missed something. Anyways, these girls left it all in the ring. These girls left it all in the ring. These guys tore each other's asses up. Tony Storm did retain her belt with a Storm Zero through a table. But yeah, no, these girls, Queen of the Ring last night. Queen of the Ring. You know, you can't say anything bad about this match, I don't think.
Yeah, Mark, I tell you, this was the match that, look, Swerve and Ricochet was great. Great. And I thought, like I said, that was to be the match of the night. And then this match happened. Was this match better than Swerve and Ricochet? I don't know. Maybe. But I know they weren't worse than a match than Ricochet and Swerve. If anything, they're tied. If not better. Because Mariah May, man, and Tony Storm. I've seen Tony Storm bleed before, not like this. I've never seen Mariah May bleed. And when Tony Storm first started bleeding, I'm like, holy shit, that's real blood. And then and then Mariah May's, the first little beads of blood, I was like, oh, I don't think that this is real blood, because you know how I am. I'm like, either it'd be real blood or nothing at all. But holy shit, when they both started bleeding like a freaking stuffed pig, I'm like, oh yeah, this is real. You know what? Kudos for them, because a lot of women, and I'm not talking bad about women, guys, so don't even go there. But a lot of women wouldn't do that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to bleed. Um, and I thought Mariah May would be one of those women who was like, you know what? I'll give you my heart, my soul in the match, but I'm not going to blade. And man, was I wrong. This match was so good. And by the way, I posted, I'm sure you see it, I posted pictures, right, of both of them bleeding. And so I made the comment, oh, so because they're bleeding, that's why it was a great match. I said, no, it was a great match because of the match. They removed the blood, and the match would still have been as great as it was. But you have to admit that the blood added a little bit more to it. Um, but yeah, this was I I was on my feet when it got to a certain point. I am not joking. That's how good this match was. I loved it, and I got to tell you, I know there's no chances that Mariah May and Tony Storm's going to see this podcast, but just in case they have a concussion, and they think they're watching something else, and it's really us. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Now, when's the last time you can compare a women's match to the guys' matches and say might have been a little bit better? You know, it's not often. You know, and I'm not knocking any of the women's matches. It's just a different mindset. I think it's just different expectations. Lately I've seen some pretty good or women matches. You know, a lot of times their matches aren't very fast paced. They're more methodical, I guess. And maybe that's not even the right word. But they're usually a slower pace. But I tell you what, lately I've seen a lot of fast paced women matches, and I was like, holy crap! So it's almost like the women's divisions, whether it's WWE or AEW, almost at that stage where they're evolving into that next stage. At least that's what.
Yep. Mark, I tell you what, when was the last time, if any, have you seen a match where a woman pulls out a bag and dumps it, and excuse my language, guys, it's fucking glass. And yeah, I'm sure that the bottle that they used to break was a gimmick bottle. Um, and maybe the shards of glass and pieces was gimmick too. I don't know, but it sure as hell looked good. It really did. And they sold the shit out of that when they landed on it. Uh, Again, I can't say enough positive things about this match. I really can't. And you're right. A lot of times the women matches they are slower than the men's matches. Last night, man, these girls were just on point. I mean, they were doing shit outside of the ring, like you said. Yeah, just absolutely great. I don't even know the words to describe how I feel about this match.
I think I think Tony Storm with the timeless gimmick. I think Tony Storm is a throwback of female wrestlers, and I think she's brought that out in Mariah May a little bit. You know, I don't know much about Mariah May before she hit AEW. Um, when I saw her, I thought, well, she's another pretty girl, big deal. You know, but no, last night definitely stock rose on both of them too again. You know,
And real quick, Mark, let me say this real quick. I want to give props to, I don't know if it was Tony Storm. I don't know if it was Tony Khan. I don't know if it was Will Offspring or Kyle Fletcher. I don't know who it was. But there had to be some communication at some point that said, look, we're using tax in our match. You need to find something else to use so he doesn't, because that's been one of my complaints is you have two matches that are doing the same thing. There needs to be communication. And by God, somebody communicated last night because Tony Storm, instead of using tax, she used glass. And absolutely bravo to them for that, whoever had that communication and called that.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, again, it just both their stock rose last night. I wouldn't mind seeing them going another round. That might defeat the purpose of the end at the end of the match on the Titantron or whatever you want to call it. But I definitely would watch this match again. You know. So next we go to Takeshita versus Omega. You know, the expectation was there, and they didn't sell it short. It was a damn good match. Uh,
Absolutely.
Omega ended up taking the belt, which kind of surprised me. You know, was I happy for it? Yeah, but I'm more okay with Takeshita having the belt too. I've grown. He's grown a lot on me. He really has, especially seeing where he was 10 years ago to where he is now. I mean, that guy went from a toothpick to a brick shithouse, damn near.
So oh, shoot.
Go ahead.
So I tell you, this is why I wasn't surprised that um he won that Kenny Omega won the match. So the last two times that they met each other, Takeshita won both of those. Kenny Omega had just gotten back from from a disease that he had or suffered, you know, that could have ended his not only ended his career but could have ended his life. They needed to have that feel good moment for him because again, him coming back, but just wasn't that. It's not only that they needed a feel good moment. The fact of the matter is that anytime you have a baby face and a heel fighting, normally that heel does get over a couple of times. The baby face at the end of this has to come up on top. The heel has to get that beating that he deserves. And this is what happened last night. Kenny Omega was finally able to get over and finally win that match against Takeshita, who again beat him 2 times. So that's why I wasn't surprised.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if Kenny was, up to the challenge physically of defending the belt. We'll see. Now this sets up perfect. Now if they're gonna merge them two belts, oh, the Rainmaker versus Omega would be awesome, awesome. Almost probably even a level higher than Takeshita, to be honest.
Well, I tell you, this would be the Rainmaker was with the Young Bucks, and then they disappeared, and who knows when they're coming back, leaving you know the Rainmaker without a faction. I think that the Rainmaker would fit in perfectly with Don Callis' family, and I think that if they did decide to merge these belts together, I think that the Rainmaker actually joining Don Callis would add that extra layer to it. And I think that it, regardless, is going to be a good match, right? We're talking about the Rainmaker and Kenny Omega, so regardless, it's going to be a good match. I personally think that he should join Don Callis' family because it adds something else if he does. When the young bucks come back, right, and they see that their guy has now joined Don Callis. Remember, Don Callis and the Young Bucks have history together, and it's not that good. That right there, you're adding the extra layer to the Kenny Omega deal, and you're also setting up another storyline with the Young Bucks, which probably would reunite the Young Bucks with Kenny Omega.
Probably. All right, so next we go to the match of the night, in my opinion. Fletcher versus Osprey. This is a great back and forth between these guys. Again, some unnecessary risks in this one too. Um, the brainbuster on top of the chair, the Spanish fly off the top of the cage.
Let me stop you there for a second. When I see them go on top of the stage and they're setting up to the Spanish fly, I looked at my wife, Krista, and I went, okay, if they actually do this, we're really going to see, they're really going to die. They're not going to survive. And Krista was like, Kevin, you keep on saying people are dead. And I'm like, but look at what they're doing. I mean, for the love of Christ. Um, WWE had 3 guys who were injured from jumping from the top of the cage. And they were landing on something to break their fall. There was nothing to break their fall except the fucking mat. Unnecessary risk. Yes, I agree. But my God, it was awesome.
That's when you just say, "Holy shit!" You know, and even a crowd in Philadelphia would have to say, "Oh my god, holy shit!" All right,
I wanted to close my eyes.
right. This is what separates wrestling from other sports. You know, when you get into sports in high school and college, whatnot, you're playing your ass off to get to the pros. All right. Once you get to the pros, I think you lose a little bit of that drive. All right, because you made the main stage. All right. These guys don't lose that drive. I don't think, not in the same sense. All right, because you don't do something that goddamn crazy without loving what you do.
I tell you, look, and I'm not, and this is why I say I don't compare AEW to WWE, and this is why I say that they are not um battling with one another, because WWE, and I keep on saying this, is more storylines. I love WWE. I love watching it. I'm excited to find out where the storylines are going. They are great at it. And yes, they have great matches. Don't do not misunderstand me. But their great matches is okay, maybe two great matches versus a couple of matches that are fillers. AEW, you watch a Dynamite, most of their matches are great matches. Crappy storylines. They don't know how to follow through a storyline. But the matches inside the ring, bar none, absolutely great. Their pay per views, amazing. So good. Last night, didn't disappoint. That match last night, again, amazing. We had match after match after match that was just, I would use the word amazing. We only had one match that I say good. The match was good out of the whole pay per view. 4 hours of a pay per view. For the fans who refuse to watch AEW, you're cheating yourself. I get it. There's things that make you scratch your head. There's things that make you kind of cringe at times when it's involved in a storyline outside the ring. But I'm telling you, man, those matches make up for it so many times, Mark.
Yep, by all means, by all means. Um, yeah, it's a different it's a different mindset in watching the two. To be quite honest, I'd almost say this is better than Elimination Chamber.
When I was talking to my buddy last night at the end of it, this is my exact words. I love Elimination Chamber. John Cena turning heel, awesome. The majority of the matches, such good matches. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, man, really good matches. The difference between the two and why I personally preferred Revolution last night is because I felt like that energy, and there was more energy and excitement in those matches than there was at the Elimination Chamber, right? And again, I'm not trying to compare the two. You brought it up though. I love the Elimination Chamber. I love WWE. I am a wrestling fan. If it's wrestling and it's on and I can watch it, I'm going to watch it. But you people cannot deny that the energy level and the drama and the excitement last night in these matches were just on another level, Mark, than the Elimination Chamber, in my opinion.
It gets down to this for me. Um, AEW is still kind of newish to me. You know, I mean, you're talking 50, 60 years versus 5 years. All right. So I still get kind of, I don't know, a 15-year-old giddy-ish when I turn on AEW, you know, because I'm still thinking in the back of my mind there's going to be some sort of big surprise, and there's not always that big surprise, and they don't always come out with a good surprise. All right. But um, it's that anticipation that I don't seem to get from WWE that I think I want to get from AEW. Now, it could be just my perspective, but I, I get I get more excited to watch AEW than WWE. All right. And part of that's because 3 hours is just a long damn time, and 2 hours seems to fit just perfect. All right. So, when I know I have to walk into 3 hours versus 2 hours, it's a different mindset. It really is, you know. Um, am I going to look forward to Wednesday? Yeah. Am I going to be just Wednesday? There's a good chance of that. You know,
Well, and that's the thing, Mark, is when when the pay per view ended last night, did it leave me wanting more? Fuck yeah, it did. It did. I am looking forward to Wednesday. Now, within the elimination chamber ended, did it leave me wanting more? Of course it did. It really did. We had two solid one PLE, one pay per view. And look, this is what aggravates me. We have gone from wrestling fans just being true wrestling fans and loving all wrestling to tribalism and within wrestling. And what drives me nuts is they almost treat it like politics. If some guy you didn't want to won against the guy you voted for, even if he comes up with a good idea, it's going to be, oh no, you're bad. This is bad because it's not coming from my guy. It's become this way in wrestling, and it makes me sad. It really does. As good as AEW was, it doesn't matter if it's not WWE. Certain people are going to shit on it. WWE, if it's something great WWE does, but it's not AEW, some people are going to shit on it, and that makes me sad. It really does because it shouldn't be that way. And look, I something that Bob always says, and he is so right. If you turn on the product looking for bad things, looking for negativity, looking for something to bitch about, that's exactly what you're going to get. But if you go in there with oh, this is going to be good, you're going to see more good than bad. Yeah, we share our opinions. That's what we do. That's why we have this podcast. But we don't share on the product. And I don't understand these wrestling fans who are doing this because, again, when I seen people shitting on AEW last night, I was like, you guys are just absolutely idiots. Idiots if you say that this was bad because it again it wasn't. And that match with Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay was phenomenal, man. I mean, I don't know how you could get any better. And this goes back to my only complaint. Why would they put this match right before the main event? I don't know. Because when it comes to wrestling, this is the thing. Fans actually become emotionally drained when they watch a good match that takes you up and down. And I was a little worried about the fans at this point for the main event because of these back-to-back great matches that we had. So, but we'll get into it.
I'm kind of curious if the internet was around 50 years ago, how many careers would have been ruined? You know, the Four Horsemen would have never lasted. I bet. You know, the Von Erichs would have been their demise would have been earlier.
Bob, Jesus, Mark, can you imagine the whole thing between Tully Blanchard, Dusty Rhodes, and Doll Baby Doll when Dusty Rhodes slapped the piss out of the taste out of her mouth on TV? Do you really think that they would have made it through today? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, no, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have. But yeah, there's so many careers that would have been destroyed because they would have been canceled. You know, um, and a lot of these guys that are under 45, and maybe 45 is pushing it even, don't remember the territories, or don't know of the territories, you know. And we've talked about this before where, oh, well, so and so jumped from WWE to AEW and they just got AEW or WWE rejects. Whatever. I see, let's see, Jade Cargill, Cody Rhodes, um, Ricky Saints, or whatever the hell he is. I mean, it's beginning to be a revolving door between both companies.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mark, real quick. Well, at first, let me say this. All these people that were talking about, how we talk about, the slap heard around the world, that would have never made it to today's world. You know why? Because some of you fans are just weak as shit. You're pussies. Sorry, I'm going to say the truth. Now, why do people have this energy about wrestlers going from AW to WWE or vice versa, going to TNA, whatever? Why don't they have the same energy with professional football? Because that's what happens in sports.
And you should be thankful they have another outlet to go to, because for what 20 years it was just WWE and TNA, and on the side NWA, I guess, you know. But if you're going to NWA, you're taking like 1/8 of or your paycheck's 1/8 of what it was, and these guys aren't making $56 million a year, you know. So all right, so next we go to Mox versus Cope and Christian.
I tell you, hold on. Let me tell you, everything I predicted was right except Christian winning. But give me props. I called it. Of course, people were crying about it. Why have this case and build it up and then him not win? Well, gee, let me think. There's been quite a few guys, WWE, who's had the briefcase, they cashed it in, and guess what? They lost. It's called adding drama to the match, adding excitement. When Christian put his one finger just about on top of Edge when he was in that the Dean not Dean Moxley's move, the submission move, and he got that finger in it, and the ref counted one. I'm like, he's gonna do it. And then of course Edge kicked out. Look, I think it added so much to the match. It was great. I'm not complaining.
Nope,
Oh,
nope, not complaining, not complaining. Um, it adds up a different storyline because now Cope's going to say, "Well, John, you didn't pin me, all right," and it's going to get down to, "Well, Christian, you interfered in my match by cashing in, so now I'm going to take you out," you know, and then there'll be a number one between them guys. Whoever wins that will be the number one after Swerve, obviously. Um, I think it opens up probably three or four different storylines, to be honest.
well, let me ask you this. So look, obviously, I think a match between Edge and Swerve would be good. It's Edge for the love of God, or Adam Copeland for the love of God, right? But I'll be honest with you. If I absolutely had to pick, I would prefer, this is just for me, to see Moxley versus Swerve, just because they're both kind of grungy. And we all know that Adam Copeland could go there. He could go hardcore. We know it. We've seen it. But I don't know. I just picture a match between Moxley and Swerve being just a little bit better, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's just my take on it.
No, I agree completely. I think Swerve and Mox, and I'm not a really big fan of Mox, to be honest. But I think Swerve and Mox, I think you're getting down to the nitty gritty dirty. I think these guys could pull off just a nasty, vile match, you know, similar to a Page and Swerve, you know. But I think Mox is willing to go a little bit deeper than Page is, to be honest. No, what I'm talking about is I think Swerve would get his shot first, but I think Christian and Edge are going to go at it for the next spot after Swerve. You know,
Now,
and if Swerve wins, great. Then it's Christian or Adam Copeland against Swerve. I you know I'd take either one of them, to be honest.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't see Moxie dropping the belt unless it was. Well, actually, I'm wrong. I thought it was possible it was going to be Edge and then Christian winning, right? But Swerve against Moxley, I think that we're going to see that reign come to an end. I absolutely see in Swerve being the champ. And I'll be honest with you, I think that as long as Swerve is treated well, he's paid like he should be paid. Swerve very well can become the sting of AEW. Now, what I mean by that is the company guy that doesn't leave. He's always there. He's loyal to AEW to the very end. That's what I'm talking about. At first, I thought maybe it might be Darby, but and I hope I'm wrong about this. I don't see Darby having a very long career. I just don't, because of some of the things that he does in and outside the ring, outside of professional wrestling, as well. The kid's crazy. He has no fear. I think that Swerve is going to be that guy that's going to be there when a lot of these guys are going. I know that people could think I'm crazy. I absolutely do see Moxley going back to WWE at some point. I do. Um, I think that MJF is at some point going to end up at WWE. There's a whole lot of people who I think is going to end up at WWE. I think Swerve possibly will be the guy that even if WWE gave him another offer, another opportunity, I think he would say no. I think that he would stay with AEW. That's why I say that he'll be the Sting of AEW.
I don't see Swerve going back to WWE unless it's a world title reign, and I don't see them giving him a world title reign. To be honest, I don't see it. Um, I think as long as he's paid fair and he can agree with his pay, yeah, I can see him staying. As far as being the franchise player, I don't know, you know, but I could see him staying around for a good 5, 7 years more easily. I
Yep.
think AEW's been good to Swerve, to be honest. And to be honest, I think he deserves, or I think he's earned. God damn it,
Yeah.
um, another world title, to be honest. But I also think he'll be up there too.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. Um, did you like how this match ended? And did you like how the pay-per-view ended with Swerve jumping from the rafters on to Moxley? Now, by the way, it has been reported that Swerve was wrestling with a busted eardrum as well, which is weird because Cody Rhodes has a busted eardrum. Also, did you notice they, and this is one thing that I was like, man, get WWE out of your head, Tony Khan. Did you notice that the one thing that they tried to go over and beyond Elimination Chamber was, we know Cody Rhodes told The Rock to go fuck himself. Did you notice how much they were cursing last night to the point that they made sure that the fans and the television audience could hear? It was more than they normally do. Don't get me wrong, MJF drops the F bomb, but there was quite a few that was cursing a lot more than what they normally do. Or am I just crazy?
I think the barrier has been broken, so it's not as taboo. You know, plus you're not on mainstream TV. You're on a streaming service, so the FCC can't really jump on your shit as hard. You know, um, but yeah, I think the barrier has been broken, so now it's not as taboo. So I think you're going to see more of it. If this would have happened 30 years ago, every other Austin's mouth would have been F. You know, so
Yeah. And by the way, I was wrong about something. And hold on a second. Let me see if I get the name. Uh, so we talked about Prime having the or doing the pay per view last night. That's who I went through. I paid the $50, even though I have Prime. But I thought Prime was the only service because that's how they presented it on Dynamite. But apparently they're also still using Triller, which I'm so happy because the Prime I have is only on a trial basis. I had like 30 days for free. It just happened to fail during the pay per view. I was concerned because I really didn't want to pay another um uh subscriber just for a pay per view because I don't like Prime very much. So I'm happy to see that it's still on Triller. But did you notice last night that they did say that Prime is now the place to go? They did so without explaining what happened to the Max thing because they did say you can still watch AEW on Max, but they didn't explain why it's not going to pay per views. you won't be able to get to Max because I was looking forward to having some type of a price break for these pay-per-views.
Absolutely. I was shocked when I heard that, and I was a bit put out. I was a bit put out. Um, I don't know what Max's problem is. You know, they've been around long enough. What, 3, 4 years now? 5 years? 4 years? You know, they should easily be able to accommodate a pay per view. You know,
Well, as far as how long Max has been around, Max has been around since I was a little kid. We used to sneak and watch the skin flicks on Max way back in the day. So they've been around for a long time. Now, as far as the streaming service, yeah, it's only been around for a few years. So, but to my other question, how'd you think? What did you think about this match ending the way it did? And what did you think about again the pay per view ending with Swerve jumping on top of Moxley?
oh, I think
Quit.
the ended where it leaves open ends on future matches. If Swerve's got a busted eardrum, jumping off like he did, that affects your equilibrium. I wouldn't be doing that. You know, um, was it a pleasant surprise? Yeah, it was. Anytime I see anybody knock Mox down, I'm always a happy camper. I'm sorry, I am. I'm just there's a disconnect with me and Mox. You know, I would challenge him to a fight, that's for sure. But I've probably got 15 years on him. You know, but he's not one of my favorite guys. You know, so anybody that takes me down a peg, great, go for it, do it again. Let's rewind it so I can watch it again. You know,
Now, and we're gonna make this quick because we're coming to our time. The question is going to be, which is always the question after a AEW pay per view, which are always good. Will Tony Khan follow up with what he's starting storyline between uh Swerve and John Moxley, or are we just going to skip all of that until right before a couple weeks before the next pay per view where they're going to face each other? It's always a toss up as far as Tony Khan following up with things that happen on the pay per view. Do you think that he is actually the number one contender, Tony Khan, or creative, whoever it may be, that they're going to actually follow up and we're going to see some of the reactions or the what's the word I'm looking for, the consequences, the fallout from the pay per view on Dynamite?
I think if he didn't have Swerve jumping down like he did, I think it would have most likely been ignored. But I don't think Mox is gonna have somebody jump him like that and and just ignore it on Wednesday. I think he's gonna make some sort of statement about this or whatnot. Do I think it's gonna be the best build up? Probably not. But I don't think Adam Copeland's done with Mox, and I don't think Mox is done with Adam Copeland, to be honest.
Well, actually, now that you say that, we didn't mention something. Could we possibly see a storyline developing between Edge and Jay White because Jay White accidentally hit him with the title or with the chair, title or chair, I can't remember which one it was. And he accidentally hit Copeland 2 times during the match. Are we going to see a heel turn with Jay White, or are we about to see a heel turn with Copeland and him blaming Copeland for costing him the match? What say you?
You know what? There was rumors that somebody's going to turn heel after this pay per view. Um, to me, it falls too close to the Jacob Fatu and Solo Sequoia. Accidental. I think it'd be stupid to break them two up. I think they pair well nice together. To be honest, um, I think it'll be addressed on Wednesday. How it pans out, I don't know. Um, but I'm not a huge fan of Jay White, but I like Jay White with Adam Copeland. So I hope they continue on this path. But I could see Edge turning heel.
Well, so I'm going to disagree about something, a little something, and then we're going to wrap it up. you said it reminds you a little bit of the Fatu with Solo because of the accidental hits, right? Well, let's just be honest. In professional wrestling for years now, this has happened. A lot of times, how they start that feud storyline between two buddies is always the accidental hit. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily close to the Fatu and Solo thing. I think that they are just using the old school wrestling formula for turning somebody who were partners about to, go into a feud together. So,
And normally I'd agree with that, but when it's right on top of each other, if it was 2 weeks apart, 3 weeks apart, I probably not might not flip my switch, but you're talking this is a week or two apart, you know. So yeah, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So
yeah. So, anyway, guys, look, this wraps up the recap of Revolution AEW's pay per view. Real quick, if you guys are asking why is Kevin doing this and why is Mark kind of pausing before he speaks, and I told you guys last podcast, we're doing Facebook Live, so we have new eyes on our podcast. Mark is waiting for some new equipment. Unfortunately, he's having technical difficulties with the equipment he's using now. If he speaks or if I speak and he's not muted, I don't mute him. You get a lot of so whenever I talk, I have to mute him, and he has to wait for me to unmute him before he actually talks. So it's me doing this is kind of him and I communicating with one another. Just want to get the explanation out. Don't forget, 7:30. Mr. Herb Simmons is going to be on the podcast. We will again be on YouTube and Facebook Live. Don't miss this, man. This guy has so many stories. He's such a great guy. He's been running a promotions for so long. He has so many stories about different wrestlers. He also partners with Randy Orton's father, who is a wrestling legend himself, Cowboy Bob Orton, the ace. So that should tell you the level that these guys are at. So don't miss this at 7:30. Again, Facebook and YouTube. We will be live. But subscribe to my channel because I'm not going to be doing Facebook Live a whole lot every now and then. So you guys can catch all the great things that is being lined up for the podcast. A lot of great people coming on. You guys don't want to miss these things. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Mark, do you have anything to add?
no, man, it's all good. I'm ready to watch Raw. Ring the damn bell so I can go watch Raw.
Man, when you say ring a damn bell, put some respect on that. Do it again.
Ring the damn bell already.
Absolutely, guys. Ring the damn bell. See you guys in about a half an hour.